Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. We go to Zimbabwe now, where Movement for Democratic Change Alliance spokesperson Phugeni last week says that their offices were invaded by MDC-T, which was backed by truckloads of armed soldiers, police and more than 20 youth. The MDC Alliance have accused state security agents of helping the Phugeni MDC-T to take over Morgan Richard Tsvangirai House in Harare. Well, we now speak to the MDC-T presidential spokesperson, Khaliphani. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Good evening. How are you, Pete, and the listeners at home?
Right. I think we're all doing fine, but shocked a little bit, I think, most people watching images last week of the police coming to arrest people like Tendai BT, one MDC for another MDC. Tell us about how that happened. Was it the MDC-T that called the police to remove the people like Mr. BT from the Harvest House?
I'd like to give you my commitment. I will not obfuscate in this interview. I'm going to give you the truth and reality. I've realized that our Eastward friends like to choreograph things and play to the gallery, and I don't plan to do that tonight. What happened last week is that our security personnel were in liaison with the security personnel of the MDC Alliance. After they lost that court judgment, the security personnel realized that the game is over, and there was an agreement to come and do a handover. That handover was successful to the effect that our SG, Douglas Monzora, wrote a letter alerting all the National Council members that there's been a successful handover. When Charlton Wende, the MDC Alliance Secretary General, got wind of that, he then rushed to the office with a group of young people trying to be violent. And once he tried that violence, then we realized that we now needed to get the police involved. We also intercepted his chat when he was asking about 25 districts to bring about 30 people to Harvest House. That will have brought the number to about 700 or so of people around Harvest House. Then we rushed the police to seek for what we call a peace order. So when they then came to try and forcefully take over Harvest House, the police were ready. Armed with that peace order, they were then able to stop them and effect arrest for people who were committing crimes like Tendai BT and others.
All right, so let's unpack a little bit. Who does the MDC-T represent in Zimbabwe?
The MDC-T represents the masses in Zimbabwe. Let me help you this way, Pete. In 2016, we started negotiations with the different political parties in Zimbabwe. In line with our 2014 Congress resolution that said we need to create a big tent. Those negotiations culminated in the signing of the MDC Alliance Agreement in 2017 by the late Dr. Morgan Tsvangirai. In that agreement, we, the MDC-T, fielded the majority of MPs to the MPs which are now said they are MDC Alliance MPs. In reality, they are MDC Alliance, but not in the manner that they want you to believe MDC Alliance as a party. No, MDC Alliance as an electoral pack between us and other parties that are in alliance with us as MDC-T. So to answer you direct, we really represent the majority of Zimbabwe opposition.
So how many MPs does MDC-T have in Parliament as we speak?
We have just over 100 MPs.
But they don't think they belong to the MDC-T.
Yes, they belong to the MDC-T because in that agreement...
Is that what they think? Is that what they think?
Well, if they no longer think like that, then the honorable thing for them to do is to resign, is to tender their resignation. I think if you wake up one morning, Pete, and you feel that you no longer represent the SABC, the most honorable thing to do is to resign.
So when Ms. Coupe calls for a meeting of her party, do these MPs show up?
We will see because of the COVID-19 restrictions. But as soon as they are lifted, Dr. Coupe will call and we will see those that will show up. Those that will not show up, it's very simple. If you are now spent force and you feel you are not prepared to carry on representing the people of Zimbabwe, we will definitely put someone who's able and willing.
So when was the last time she was able to sit with her caucus, as you were describing it, of 100 plus MPs?
No, she will get the opportunity very soon because you will appreciate that there was...
But when was it? Because because 2018 was when the elections were. COVID-19 only happened this year.
No, but there's a context, Pete, and I was hoping that you are mindful of that. But if you want me to go to it, remember, there's a judgment that came, the Supreme Court judgment, which solved the MDC-T leadership debacle, because Chamisa had usurped power violently so. And he then imposed himself as MDC-T president, which meant that he imposed himself as the successor of Dr. Tsvangirai. So the Supreme Court resolved that matter. Once it resolved that matter, it meant that we now have to work a process of putting Dr. Coupe back to Parliament so she can then be able to lead that caucus. You will appreciate that there was a judgment today, a High Court judgment, and to the effect that the MDC alliance won that interdict that said we cannot replace the MPs which you've already recalled. Now, today they are very happy. Today the courts in Zimbabwe, the judiciary is not captured because they've won. But we don't agree with that judgment. So we're not going to impugn the judiciary system. We're not going to denigrate or insult the judges or claim that without evidence that they've been bribed or bought and insult the state president. What we are going to do is what is provided for in the Constitution. We're going to appeal that judgment and go to the Supreme Court and prove that if logically we can recall MPs, it must then therefore follow that we can also replace them.
All right, what do you make of reports that a High Court application has been made by the owners of Harvest House, trustees, to get your Moanzara team out of Harvest House?
Okay, I'll do a bit of national education here. Trustees don't own the property. The trustees are just that, and they may even get a salary for their job for running the building. But they are running it on behalf of the beneficiaries. In this case, the beneficiaries is MDC-T. We are the beneficiary. So you will appreciate that if Fadzai says last week in court, or the Harvest House, when she was interviewed, she says, no, actually, a Harvest House is run by the trustees on behalf of the beneficiaries. When she was asked what the beneficiaries, she says MDC Alliance. Come on. MDC Alliance, according to their own publicly stated statements, is that it was formed last year, right? Or at the very least, it was formed in 2018. Yeah. We know Harvest House has been MDC-T citadel like forever, right? Now, Chamisa then turns in front of a hospital. He says, we've got a lease agreement with the trustees. No, they must pick a lane. You can't have a so-called president say something and then the so-called spokesperson also say something different. What these guys are doing, they are involved in political communication. They are confusing. They are throwing mud out there so that people can just run after it and get confused. The truth of the matter, and it's common cause throughout the world, the diplomats know this, everyone knows this. that Harvest House belongs to Dr. Tsvangirai, and the successor of Dr. Tsvangirai is Dr. Thokozani Koo.
All right, so explain to us, I mean, that some people might be confused again. Mr. Mowanzora lost to Charlton Wende at an MDC elective conference, and then after he loses, that's when he decides he doesn't want to be part of this faction anymore and he wants to go with Kupe. Is it not just about, oh, I lost, therefore now I'm joining this other lot?
But Pete, why are you demoting me? I speak for the president. I speak for the president. Mozora is not the president. So now if you want me to speak for Mozora, it's a demotion.
He's your Secretary General. Yeah.
Okay, but I speak for the president. But anyway, let me try. Remember what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court said the April 2018 Extraordinary Congress held by Dr. Kupe at Bulawayo, Stanley Square, was void ab initio, which simply means it's just as good as it didn't happen. It also came and said the May 2019 Congress done by the Alliance is also void, null and void. So basically, what you're asking me, according to the court or at law, it never happened.
All right.
It never happened. So,
okay.
There's no question.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I can assure you we'll interrogate these issues again in the near future and would love to chat to Ms. Kupe as well next time. But thanks so much indeed for representing her this evening.